Camera flashes blinded me. White heat against the freezing rain. The Alpha Heir didn't just reject me. He laughed. I spun around. I needed to run. Impact. I slammed into a chest that felt like granite wrapped in silk. Wool, musk, danger. The Alpha King didn't look at my face. He didn't care about the tears burning my skin. His eyes locked on my stomach. He leaned down. His breath ghosted over my ear, hot and possessive, drowning out the chaos of the crowd. You think you can hide my heirs in a cheap dress? Get in the car. Chapter 1. The sting wasn't in the words. It was the way he dusted off his sleeve after touching her. Lyra stood in the center of the crystal ballroom, the air thick with the scent of fake lilies and expensive sweat. The champagne flute in her hand dug into her skin. Not real crystal, cheap, hard plastic, just like her place in this pack. Lyra, be reasonable. Julian smoothed his lapel, his voice slick as oil on water. You're an archivist, a foster kid. You have nothing. Her ears rang, a high-pitched whine drowning out the party. I'm merging with the northern pack. He checked his reflection in the mirror behind her, preening. I need a mate with a bloodline, land, money, status. His gaze flicked to her stomach. He didn't know. Nobody knew. You understand, right? Lyra tightened her grip. The plastic stems snapped, a sharp, jagged edge slice into her palm. Pain flared, hot and grounding. Good. It made the room real again. I understand. Great. Julian offered a smile that didn't reach his dead eyes. Don't make a scene. It would look bad for me. He walked away. He didn't look back. He vanished into the sea of laughing, glittering wolves. Lyra stood there, a statue in a room full of motion. A waiter's shoulder slammed into hers. Move. She was furniture. She was a ghost. She was the girl who organized the rotting books in the basement. The one nobody noticed until they needed something to blame. She looked at her hand. A single drop of crimson swirled into the cheap champagne. Pregnant. The thought hit her like a physical blow. 3 babies. And she had just been dumped in the middle of the mating gala. Ice water flooded her chest, heavy and suffocating. Where would she go? No money, no family, no pack protection. She swallowed the sob rising in her throat. Crying was for wolves, with safety nets. She turned toward the buffet table, hands shaking. She grabbed a white linen napkin, the fabric rough against her skin, and wrapped it around. Her palm, tighter. She squeezed until the throbbing dulled the panic. Then the smell hit her. Not food, not perfume. Pine, deep dark forest pine. And ozone. Sharp, electric, like the air seconds before a lightning strike. The hair on her arms stood up. The crowd parted. The Red Sea splitting for a monster. Conversations died. The music seemed to rot in the air. A nightmare in a tailored suit walked through the doors. King Kalin Voss. He was huge, broader than any alpha she had ever seen. He didn't walk, he stalked. His eyes scanned the room, a predator looking for a throat to rip out. Lyra stepped back, her hip bumping the table. A wine bottle wobbled. Don't look at him. Kings don't look at archivists. He stopped. He went perfectly still. His head tilted, slowly, terrifyingly, his eyes locked onto hers.
Noise. It was a physical weight, pressing against his skull. Kalin ground his teeth. The ballroom was a riot of heartbeats, hundreds of them. Thump, 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 a drum line played by idiots. He hated these events. He hated the smell of desperation. Everyone wanted something. His money, his title, his power. Sire, the board is watching. His beta's voice buzzed in his earpiece. Smile. Kalin didn't smile. A low growl vibrated in his chest. He stepped into the room. The crowd scattered. Fear. It rolled off them in waves, tasting sour like spoiled milk. Good. Fear meant they kept their distance. He scanned the exits, calculating the fastest route out, when a new sound cut through the din. Faint. A flutter. Thump, 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 thump. Kalin froze. His wolf surged forward, claws raking his ribs. Mine? No. Impossible. He filtered the noise. He pushed past the mindless chatter, past the terrible music. He zeroed in on the rhythm. The buffet. Table. 3 distinct heartbeats. Fast. Tiny. Terrified. And underneath them, a 4th heart. Slow. Heavy. Breaking. He turned. There. Small. Too small. Her dress looked 3 seasons old. Her hair was a mess of escaping curls. She clutched a napkin to her hand, and the copper tang of fresh blood hit him. But that wasn't what stopped him. The scent. Dusty paper. Vanilla. Ozone. The library. Memory crashed into him. The dark archives. 3 months ago. The woman who argued philosophy with him in the shadows. The woman whose face he never saw, but whose mind had sharpened his own like a whetstone. Her? She was the archivist. His eyes dropped to her stomach. Thump, thump, thump. The sound drowned out the rest of the room. Those weren't just babies. Those were his. His blood sang to them. She looked ready to bolt. Her eyes were wide, panicked, pleading. She took a step back, knocking a wine bottle. Kalin moved. No thought. No plan. Instinct took the wheel. Between one breath and the next, he crossed the room. He towered over her. She looked up, trembling. The scent of rain and sadness poured off her. You. His voice was gravel grinding together. She flinched. Your Majesty, The noise of the room surged back. Cameras flashed. The sharks circled. He couldn't let them see her fear. He couldn't let them hear the hearts. He stripped off his coat. Heavy wool and charcoal. He draped it over her shoulders. It swallowed her small frame. Cover them. Her eyes widened. What? The noise. He leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. They're too loud. Quiet them. She blinked, confusion warring with fear. She didn't know he could hear them. Julian, the idiot social climber, stepped forward. Your Highness, is this girl bothering you? She's just a charity case. Kalin turned his head. He didn't shout. He didn't raise a hand. He just let the wolf surface. His eyes burned a violent, electric gold. One more word, Kalin said softly, and I will buy your pack just to burn it down. Julian's mouth snapped shut. Kalin turned back to the girl, to Lyra. Walk. He placed a hand on the small of her back. Heat seared through the dress, a jolt of electricity shooting straight to his heart. He steered her toward the exit. Where are we going? She squeaked. Away, before I kill someone.
The car ride was a vacuum of sound, not peaceful, heavy, suffocating. Lyra huddled in the corner of the massive armored SUV. The leather seat was softer than her mattress back at the archives. She still wore the king's coat. It smelled like him, deep winter and iron, overwhelming. She peeked at him. Kalin stared out the window, his jaw clenched so tight a muscle ticked in his cheek. A statue carved out of anger and granite. Why did he take her? Why did he threaten Julian? Her hand throbbed. The cut from the plastic cup stung in time with her pulse. We're here. The car slowed. Lyra looked out the window. Her breath hitched. Not a house, a fortress, obsidian peak. It sat on the edge of a cliff, a brutal structure of black stone and glass. Snow swirled around it, but the driveway was heated, dry bone against the white. It looked lonely. It looked dangerous. The car stopped. The door opened. Out. She scrambled onto the pavement. The wind bit her face, sharp and cold. She pulled his coat tighter. He led her inside. The door hissed shut behind them, severing the wind. The silence inside was louder than the storm. Sit. He pointed to a long glass table. Lyra sat. A child in the principal's office. Kalin didn't sit. He paced. He shed his suit jacket, throwing it onto a chair. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing thick forearms scarred with silver marks. He pulled a tablet from his bag and slid it across the glass. Read this. Lyra looked at the screen. Non-disclosure agreement. Her stomach bottomed out. Of course. He didn't save her because he cared. He saved her because she was a loose end. A liability. He probably thought she was one of Julian's spies. You want me to sign this? Her voice trembled, but she forced her chin up. I want you to understand the rules. He poured a drink. Amber liquid splashed into a tumbler. You don't talk to the press. You don't leave the estate. You don't contact your ex. He spat the word ex like poison. Lyra looked down at the text. Dense legal jargon. Most people would sign it just to make the scary Alpha stop staring. But Lyra wasn't most people. She was an archivist. She read old laws for sport. She swiped to the second page, then the third. She frowned. You have a typo. Kalin froze. The glass paused halfway to his mouth. Excuse me? Here. She tapped the glass screen hard. Clause 14, Section B. You used a dangling participle. And the jurisdiction clause cites the Code of 1998. That was repealed last year. This contract isn't legally binding in this territory. She looked up. For a second, she thought he might explode. His eyes narrowed. He walked toward her, slow, predatory steps eating up the distance. Lyra shrank back against the chair. Stupid, stupid Lyra. Why do you always have to be right? He placed his hands on the table, leaning over her. The scent of whiskey and snow enveloped her. You're correcting my lawyers? I'm just saying. She didn't look away. If you want to silence me, do it properly. He stared at her. Then the tension in his shoulders dropped. The corner of his mouth twitched. You really are the girl? From the library? Lyra's breath caught. What? Smart. He took the tablet back. Too smart for your own good. He tapped the screen. Delete. No contract. Then, can I go? Kalin looked at her stomach again. His gaze was heavy, a physical weight. No, you can't go. Why? He walked to the window, watching the storm rage against the glass. Because. His voice dropped, low and final. The storm has started, and I don't let my things get wet. Lyra touched her stomach. My things? A shiver raced down her spine, not fear. Something else. Something hot and terrifying. She was trapped in a glass cage with the Alpha King. And he knew exactly what she was hiding.
Alphas didn't sleep when intruders roamed their territory, even if the intruder was her. Kalin stood outside the heavy oak doors of his private library. The scent drifted through the crack underneath. Dust, old paper, and warm, sweet milk. It clawed at his brain, waking up instincts he had buried under concrete years ago. His hand found the brass handle. He didn't want to go in. He needed to go in, not a choice. Gravity. He shoved the door open. Firelight bled amber across the room. And there she was, Lyra. She was curled up in his leather armchair, feet tucked under that ridiculous, shapeless sack of a dress. She held a book. The book, Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, first edition. The binding was surrendering to time. He froze. She wasn't reading. She was inhaling the spine, breathing in 3 centuries of dust. You have a habit of breaking into restricted areas. His voice scraped like gravel on glass. Lyra jumped. The book nearly flew. She clutched it to her chest, paper shield. I couldn't sleep. The hallways, they were too quiet. This room, it smells like what? He stepped into the firelight. Like safety. Kalin stopped. In the span of a breath, the distance vanished. He didn't walk. He stalked. He braced one hand on the back of the chair, leaning down until his face hovered inches from hers. He didn't touch her. Touching her meant losing control. That book. He nodded at the leather volume. Page 84, The Argument on Morality. Lyra blinked. Her pupils dilated, swallowing the blue. The categorical imperative. Universal law. You argued against it, Kalin murmured. In the dark, 3 months ago. You said morality changes when you're starving. Her breath hitched. That was you? You didn't see my face, but I heard your voice. I smelled you. He leaned closer. He inhaled. Milk. Stronger now. Primal. Sweet. It screamed, mother. His wolf slammed against his ribs. Protect. Claim. Why are you here, Lyra? Really? I have nowhere else. Liar. He reached out, not for her, for the book. His fingers grazed hers. A spark, hot and violent, snapped between them. The world narrowed. The room vanished. There was only the heat of her skin and the scent of her fear. You're here because you're hiding something. He whispered the words into her hair. And I'm going to find out what it is. He ripped the book from her grip. Read. Prove to me you're not just a spy. She opened the pages. Her hands shook. But when she started to read, her voice steadied. It rose, strong and clear. Kalin sat on the edge of the desk. He watched her. He guarded her. And he realized with a sinking dread that the storm outside was nothing compared to the hurricane starting in his chest.
Morning didn't break. It shattered. Lyra woke on the library sofa. A blanket, heavy wool, smelling of pine and authority, was tucked around her. Kalin was gone. She wandered into the kitchen. Sleek, modern, freezing. A massive screen on the wall played the morning news on mute. She reached for a glass of water. Then the headline stopped her heart. Her picture. High school. Pixelated. Poor. Next to it, Julian. Looking like a tragic hero. Alpha Heir betrayed by gold-digging orphan. The glass slipped. Crash. Shards scattered across the tile. She didn't hear it break. Blood roared in her ears like the ocean. She scrambled for the remote sitting on the granite counter. Sweat made her fingers slick. The battery cover cracked under her thumb. Click. Unmute. Heartbroken. Julian wiped a tear that didn't exist. I tried to help her. I gave her a job in the archives, but she was unstable. She stole from the collection. And when I found out she was sleeping with rival pack members... No. The whisper tore from her throat. That's a lie. The anchor nodded, a vulture feigning sympathy. And now she's missing. Is she dangerous, Julian? I worry she might hurt herself. Julian lied smoothly. Or someone else. Air refused to enter her lungs. The room spun. The walls leaned in, crushing her. The remote vanished from her hand. Kalin, dark t-shirt, sweatpants, looking like he'd just finished tearing a punching bag apart. He didn't turn it off. He turned the volume up. Stop it, Lyra lunged. Turn it off, please. He caught her wrist, iron grip. He didn't hurt her, but he didn't let go. Watch. His voice held no pity. I can't. Tears burned tracks down her face. He's lying. Everyone will believe him. Yes, they will. He forced her chin up. Forced her to witness Julian's smug victory. Look at him, Lyra. That is the enemy. That is what weakness gets you. Why are you doing this? She fought his hold. You're cruel. I am necessary. He killed the screen. Silence crashed back into the room. He released her wrist. He looked down, golden eyes burning. Tears won't save you. The truth won't save you. Only power saves you. Do you want to cry? Or do you want to make him regret The day he learned your name. Lyra stared. The shaking stopped. Something inside her shifted. A cold, hard knot replaced the fear. I want to kill him. Kalin smiled. A wolf showing its teeth. Good. Eat your breakfast. We have work to do.
He pushed her too hard. Kalin knew it the moment he walked out of the kitchen. The look in her eyes hadn't been fear. It was resignation. He went to his study. He tried to focus on the board, but his wolf paced circles in his chest. Where is she? Where is the mate? Mate. He ground his teeth. Not mate. Liability. A problem to solve so he could keep his throne. The silence in the house grew teeth. He checked the security monitors. Library, empty. Kitchen, empty. Bedroom, empty. His heart stopped. A beat later, it hammered against his ribs like a sledgehammer. He switched to exterior cameras. There, a small dark smudge trudging through the white of the south garden. Idiot. He didn't grab a coat. He ran. He burst out the back doors. The cold hit like a physical blow, minus 20 degrees. The wind howled, whipping snow into a blinding white curtain. He smelled her before the visuals caught up. Fear, determination, freezing skin, the old iron gate. She wore his coat, but it wasn't enough. Her hands were bare. She jammed a rusted key into the frozen lock. It won't turn. A sob broke through the wind. Open. Please, just open. She wasn't sneaking in. She was escaping. Kalin stopped. The snow crunched under his boots. She froze. She didn't turn. She slumped against the iron bars. You'll die out there. His voice was calm. His fists were white. Better me than you. The wind carried her whisper. I saw the news, Kalin. I'm a stain. If I stay, I ruin your reputation. The board will use me to destroy you. She turned, lips blue, eyelashes coated in ice. I'm saving you. Her soul answered his. She was sacrificing herself. For him. For the monster who forced her to watch her own execution. Something cracked in his chest. The ice around his heart splintered. He walked forward. He took the rusted key from her numb fingers. You think leaving saves me? He shoved the key in. Click. He turned it. The gate groaned open. The dark forest waited. A maw of death stepped aside. Go. Lyra blinked. She stared at the open path, then at him. What? Go. If you think you are a burden, leave. Walk into the snow. But know this. He leaned down, lips brushing her frozen ear. If you walk out that gate, you take my heirs with you, and I will burn the world down to find them. Lyra gasped. Her hand flew to her stomach. You know? 3 hearts, he whispered. I hear them. Thump, thump, thump. The tension snapped. She stared at him, wide-eyed. Snow swirled around them, erasing the world. You knew, and you still let me in. I let you in because they are mine, and whether you like it or not, Lyra, so are you. He held out his hand, palm warm, large, a lifeline. Choose, the snow, or the king. Lyra looked at the dark forest, then at his hand. The key dropped into the drift. She placed her cold hand in his. Kalin didn't smile. He pulled her against his chest, shielding her from the wind. Smart choice. He carried her back toward the fortress. And as the warmth returned to her skin, Kalin realized the terrifying truth. He wasn't just protecting his legacy anymore. He was falling in love with the only woman brave enough to leave him.
The heat hurt more than the cold. Steam curled off the water in the massive stone tub, thick with the scent of cedar and raw, masculine soap. Lyra sat on the edge, shivering. Kalin knelt on the wet tile. He wasn't a king right now. He was something else. Something terrified. His knuckles were bruised, split skin from punching a wall. He held a thick white towel, his grip white-knuckled. Give me your foot. The command rumbled through the floorboards. Lyra tried to tuck her frozen toes under the bench. I can do it. You shouldn't be down there. He didn't listen. His hand engulfed her ankle, skin scorched against frozen flesh. Fire bloomed in her veins, sharp and stinging. She gasped. Shh. He rubbed the towel over her skin. Friction, heat. You were an idiot out there, Lyra. A brave, stupid idiot. I wanted to save you. Her teeth chattered. Not from cold, from the smell of melting snow in his hair. He was too close. He stopped, golden eyes locked onto hers. The gate outside hadn't just opened the estate. It had cracked him open. You don't save the Alpha. His thumb traced the arch of her foot. The Alpha saves the pack. That is the law. I'm not pack. Her voice shook. I'm nobody. His grip tightened. Just a fraction. You carry 3 heirs to the obsidian throne. You are the future. He dropped her foot and stood up, a movement of violent grace. He draped a second towel over her head. He rubbed her hair, rough and rhythmic. It felt like being groomed by a wolf, possessive. He pulled the towel back. He stared at her mouth. Stay in this room. Do not open the door. The lawyers are coming. Kalin, stay. It sounded like a plea. The door clicked shut. Lyra touched her burning lips. Safe, warm. But a knot formed in her stomach. He called her the future. He called the babies heirs. He never said her name.
The war room smelled of stale coffee and fear. 6 lawyers, 2 crisis managers, 1 sweating accountant, a riot of useless noise. Liquidation, the accountant wheezed, wiping his forehead. If the stock drops 10 points, the board triggers the incompetence clause. We need a statement. The PR woman slammed a folder onto the obsidian table. Deny the pregnancy. Call her a surrogate, a paid vessel. Protect the lineage. Kalin's hand tightened around his fountain pen. Crack, expensive resin splintered. Ink, black as blood, coated his fingers. The door opened. Silence. Lyra. She wore dry gray sweatpants and one of his black t-shirts. It hung to her knees, small, fragile. But her chin was up. You're wrong. Her voice was a scalpel. The PR woman blinked. Excuse me? Lyra walked to the whiteboard. Her hand trembled, but the marker squeaked loud against the surface. Unanimous. The incompetence clause requires a unanimous vote. But the bylaws state that any board member under active investigation cannot vote. She turned to him. Vane has offshore accounts in the Caymans. I saw the transfer logs in the archives 2 years ago, misfiled under maintenance. Pride surged in Kalin's chest, hot and sharp. My brilliant girl. Marcus, the lead counsel, laughed, in a dry, condescending. That's cute. Stick to organizing books, sweetheart. This is corporate law. Hearsay from a library clerk isn't evidence. It's not hearsay. Lyra stepped forward. I have a photographic... Sit down, Marcus snapped. Or get out. The adults are talking. Kalin stood. His chair scraped the floor like a scream. Marcus. A warning growl. Sir, with respect. Marcus didn't back down. She is the liability. Every time she speaks, your stock drops. Save the crown or save the girl's feelings. Kalin looked at the stock ticker on the wall. Red. Plummeting. If he lost the company, he lost the Triplets' protection. He made the choice. The wrong choice. Lyra, go back to your room. Her face crumbled. The light went out. Kalin? Now, you don't know the rules of this game. She fled. Kalin looked down at his ink-stained hand. He had won the argument, but he had just lost something much more valuable.
Anna, he is ashamed of me. The thought circled Lyra like a vulture, useless, liability. She sat on the floor of the guest bedroom, her cell. The storm had cleared. The moon hung high and bright, casting skeletal shadows across the snow. She pressed a pillow to her stomach. Thump, thump, thump. The babies were restless. They felt her distress. I'm sorry. I tried to help. I'm just not enough. Woo! A giant insect, buzzing against the silence. Lyra leaned toward the glass. Something black and sleek hovered outside. A red light blinked. A lens. A drone. Panic spiked, cold and sharp. They were filming her in the king's shirt, filming her breakdown. The drone lunged. Thud. It bumped the reinforced glass. Go away! She scrambled back, tripping over the rug. Thud, thud. Kalin! The door exploded open. Kalin arrived like a natural disaster. Half shifted, claws extended, eyes burning with violent light. He saw the machine. He didn't hesitate. Crash! He shattered his own. Window. Glass rained down as he leaped into the freezing night. He caught the drone in midair with a bare hand. Metal crunched. Sparks showered the snow. He landed, crushing the plastic until it was dust. He stood there, panting. Blood from glass cuts dripped down his arms. Get back! Away from the window! Lyra scrambled into the corner, shaking. Kalin vaulted back into the room. He kicked the debris aside and grabbed her. He checked her for cuts. He checked her stomach. Did they see you? Did they see your face? I don't know. She buried her face in his chest. His heart hammered against her ear. A frantic, terrified rhythm. The truth hit her. He wasn't ashamed. He was terrified. Nowhere is safe. Ozone and blood flooded her nose. They found us. He gripped her shoulders. Pack your bag, Lyra. We aren't staying here. Where are we going? To the one place the board can't follow, the Wolflands, my ancestral home. Her world tilted. The Wolflands were a myth. Lawless. Graveyard for the weak. But Kalin, I'm human. I won't survive the journey. You will? He lifted her chin, his eyes hard stone. Because I will carry you. She let him lead her into the dark, leaving the broken glass and the broken rules behind. They had failed to win the game, so now they would break the board. The world ended in silence. One moment, the armored SUV tore through the snow, the heated leather seats keeping the nightmare at bay. The engine roared a lullaby. Then nothing. The lights cut out, the heater groaned and died. The dashboard went black. Kalin. Her breath fogged in the sudden dark. Kalin hit the steering wheel. The leather crunched under his fist. Tech doesn't work here. We crossed the border. The Wolflands reject the signal. Lyra looked out the windshield. The road vanished. Only ancient towering pines blocked the moonlight. We have to walk. He didn't wait for an argument. He kicked his door open. The wind howled in, carrying the scent of ice and rotting pine. He ripped her door open. Out. Now, before the engine block freezes. Lyra stepped out. Her boots sank into waist-deep powder. Heavy, wet. The cold didn't just bite. It chewed. Whatever heat she had stored vanished in the span of a breath. Tremors racked her frame. How far? 10 miles. To the hunting cabin. He looked at her. His shirt and sweatpants hung on her frame. Human, fragile. You won't make it. He swept her up. He didn't hold her like a bride. He held her like a precious package. One arm under her knees, the other pressing her face into the crook of his neck. Hold on, and don't fall asleep. He started to run. Not a human run. A blur. Trees whipped past like strokes of black ink. The wind stung her exposed cheeks, sharp as needles. With every step, power rolled off him. He was a furnace in the freezing night. His heart didn't beat fast. It beat hard. Thud, thud, thud. It synced with the 3 tiny flutters in her own stomach. Kalin. She pressed closer to his throat. You're burning up. Wolf blood runs hotter. She closed her eyes. Iron and sweat flooded her nose. The safest smell in the world. For the first time in her life, she wasn't a burden. She was cargo, valuable cargo. Don't let me fall. His grip tightened on her thigh. Never.
The cabin was a tomb. Dust motes danced in the moonlight, filtering through the cracked logs. The air smelled of dry rot and abandonment. Kalin kicked the door shut. The silence of the Wolflands was absolute. No electricity hum, no distant cars, just the wind. He set Lyra on the dusty mattress in the corner. She shook violently. Her lips were a terrifying shade of violet. Fear gripped him, cold and sharp. Stay awake. He moved on instinct. He grabbed dry wood from the hearth. No lighter needed. He struck flint against stone, spark, and blew on the tinder. Fire roared to life. Orange light flooded the room, chasing back the shadows. He turned. She fumbled with the coat buttons. Her fingers were stiff, clumsy claws. I can't. Her teeth chattered, a rhythmic clicking in the quiet. Let me. He slapped her hands away. Gentle but firm. The moment their eyes locked, the air thickened. He undid the buttons. 1, 2, 3. He peeled the wet wool off her shoulders. Then the damp shirt. She gasped. She was left in her camisole and sweatpants. Her skin was pale marble, covered in goosebumps. He should have looked away. A gentleman would have. But Kalin was a king, and this was his mate. His gaze dropped to her stomach. Barely a bump, a small, subtle curve. But to his eyes, a mountain, the center of his universe. He reached out. His hand hovered over her skin. He waited. Lyra nodded. A small, jerky movement. He placed his palm on her stomach. Heat. It radiated through his hand, traveled up his arm, and exploded in his chest. Thump, thump, thump. The triplets. They were awake. They responded to him. They know you. Wonder softened her voice. They stopped kicking. Kalin swallowed the lump in his throat. They are Voss. They know the Alpha is here. He looked up at her face. Her eyes were wide, dark pools. And you, Lyra? His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Do you know who is here? Her breath caught. Yes. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted to claim her on this dusty mattress and make the world disappear. But he couldn't. Not yet. He pulled his hand back. It took every ounce of willpower he possessed. Get near the fire. He stood up, putting distance between them. I need to check the perimeter. He walked to the door. He didn't look back. If he looked back, he would break.
The fire popped, a dying gunshot in the quiet. Lyra sat wrapped in a moth-eaten blanket. Warmth returned to her limbs, but the fear remained frozen in her chest. Kalin paced, back and forth. 6 steps. Turn. 6 steps. Turn. Shirtless. His skin gleamed with sweat in the firelight. The scars on his back looked like silver lightning bolts. Shadows danced between them. Why do they want to kill you? The question hung in the air. Kalin stopped. He stared into the flames. They don't want to kill me. Not yet. Then why the drone? Why the lawyers? Because. Kalin turned. His face was a mask of agony. I am dying, Lyra. The blanket slipped from her shoulders. What? Not physically. He tapped his chest. My wolf. The Voss bloodline carries a curse. If a king does not produce heirs by his 33rd winter, the wolf goes feral. It consumes the human mind. The floor seemed to drop out from under her. Feral. Madness. Violent. Uncontrollable. I will become a beast with no memory of who I was. He walked toward her. Exhaustion etched lines into his face. The board knows. They are waiting for it. They want to declare me mentally unfit so they can seize the assets. He laughed, a bitter, jagged sound. But then, you happened. He looked at her stomach. The triplets. The realization hit her like ice water. They are the cure. They stabilize the bloodline. Their existence proves my wolf is viable. If they are born, I stay sane. I keep the crown. The truth unraveled, cold, calculating. So that's it. Her voice went hollow, then sharp. I'm not a person to you. I'm a prescription. I'm just the medicine that keeps you from going crazy. Kalin flinched. Lyra, no, don't lie. She stood up, the blanket pooling at her feet. You saved me because you need them. You protected me because without them, you lose everything. Yes! The roar shook the cabin. Dust drifted from the rafters. Yes! He stepped closer, looming over her. That is why I started. That is why I brought you here. He grabbed her shoulders. His fingers dug in, desperate. But that isn't why I stayed. He looked down at her. His eyes were wild, searching. I need the heirs to save my mind. But Lyra, you are the only thing that is saving my soul. The space between them burned. I don't care about the crown anymore. Let them take it. Let them burn the company to the ground. I just want... He choked on the words. Lyra reached up. Her hand trembled as she touched his cheek. Stubble grazed her palm. You want what? Kalin closed his eyes. He leaned into her touch. I want to be the man who deserves you, not the king who used you. In the quiet, the anger drained away. The secret wasn't that he was using her. The secret was that he was terrified he would never be anything else. Then show me. She whispered the challenge. Show me the man, not the king. Kalin opened his eyes. The gold was gone, just brown. Warm, human brown. Okay. The fire died down to embers, casting dancing shadows on the logs. Lyra sat on the edge of the mattress, the first aid kit open on her lap. Sharp antiseptic cut through the smell of wood smoke. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the only rhythm was Kalin's breathing. He sat on the floor between her legs, back resting against the bed frame. He allowed her to touch him, to heal him. This will sting. She dabbed the alcohol wipe against the jagged cut on his shoulder. The souvenir from the drone. Kalin didn't flinch. He leaned back, the weight of his head resting heavy against her thigh. Do it. Lyra pressed the cloth to his skin. She braced herself for him to pull away. Instead, he closed his eyes and let out a long, ragged exhale. You have good hands, steady, like a surgeon, like an archivist. She applied the bandage, smoothing the edges. Books are fragile. You have to be gentle. He turned his head. His cheek brushed the soft cotton of her sweatpants. His sweatpants. I am not fragile, Lyra. The vibration of his voice traveled through her leg. You don't have to be gentle with me. The air thickened. Lyra's hand hovered over his shoulder. I think you are the most fragile thing I've ever met. Kalin opened his eyes. The gold was gone. Dark, endless brown drowned her. The board vanished. The scandal faded. The cold retreated. Why? Because. She traced the scar on his deltoid, skin hot to the touch. You think you have to be a monster to be loved. You think the man isn't enough. Something inside him shattered. He reached up. His hand, large, rough, warm, cupped her jaw. His thumb brushed her bottom lip. Is he? Is the man enough? Her heart hammered against her ribs. Yes. He surged up. He didn't kiss her mouth. He buried his face in her neck, inhaling deeply. He kissed her pulse point. Once, twice, 3 times. Desperation radiated off him. He wasn't taking from her. He was anchoring himself to her. You smell like home. He groaned the words, against her skin. Paper and milk, my sanity. She wove her fingers into his hair, pulling him closer. For the first time, she wasn't the discard pile. She was the destination. His lips moved to her collarbone. Beep, beep, beep. The sound slashed through the intimacy. Kalin froze. He pulled back, staring at the black watch on his wrist. The screen flashed red. Proximity. Alert. The world tilted on its axis. Kalin? He stood up. The tenderness evaporated. The king returned. They found us.
Careless. He had been careless. He let the warmth of her skin drug him. He let the scent of the triplets lull his wolf into a coma. Now, the trap snapped shut. Kalin kicked the cabin door open. Wood splintered. The wind carried his name, a shout amplified by technology. King Kalin Voss, surrender the asset. Kalin stepped onto the porch. The rising sun painted the snow in brutal shades of pink and orange. The sight made his blood boil. 6 snowmobiles in a semicircle, men in white tactical gear, rifles leveled at his chest. And in the center, behind a massive mercenary, stood Julian, the ex, the traitor. Julian shivered in a designer parka that looked ridiculous against the savage landscape. He held a silver canister. Kalin, Julian's voice cracked. The board has authorized a retrieval. Hand over the girl, and we leave you the antidote. Antidote? Kalin narrowed his eyes. He inhaled, beneath the exhaust and fear. Something sweet, sickening, wolfsbane. They weren't here to shoot him. They were here to poison him. A growl ripped from his throat. If you take 1 step closer, I will rip your throat out, Julian. His wolf surged. Bones cracked. Vision bled red. The transformation started. Too fast, too violent. Do it now, Julian screamed. The men fired. Pop, pop, pop. Silver cans hissed into the snow at Kalin's feet. Thick, purple smoke spewed out. He tried to kick them away. The gas hit his lungs. Fire. Not heat. Paralysis. His legs turned to water. He hit the snow. Knees first, then chest. Kalin! Lyra's scream tore through the air. She ran out of the cabin. She wore his coat, stumbling in the deep drifts. No! Kalin choked. Lyra, get back! The purple fog swallowed him. The world spun. He saw Julian smile. He saw the mercenaries advance, and he saw Lyra, small and fierce, throw herself between the monster and the guns.
The snow was stained purple. Lyra stood before Kalin. He was on his hands and knees, retching, skin turning a sickly grey. The mighty Alpha, brought low by chemistry, terror clawed at her chest. Stop! She threw up her hands. Stop it! You're killing him! Julian stepped forward, covering his mouth with a scarf. That's the point, Lyra. He's unstable. We're just neutralizing the threat. They wouldn't kill him. The board needed him alive to liquidate assets, but they would let him suffer. They would let the wolfsbane burn his mind until he became the feral beast they needed him to be. She looked down. Kalin clawed at the snow. His eyes rolled back. Run! He wheezed. Lyra, run! She stayed. She looked at the guns. She looked at the silver canister in Julian's other hand. Blue liquid. The neutralizer. The truth unraveled, cold and clear. She couldn't fight them. She couldn't outrun them. But she could trade. I have a counteroffer. Her voice didn't shake. It was the voice of a queen. Julian laughed. You have nothing, darling. You're a broke archivist. I am the mother of his heirs. Silence. The rifles lowered. Julian's smile faltered. If you kill him, Lyra stepped forward, the stress will cause me to miscarry. I swear it. I will lose these babies right here in the snow. She pressed a hand to her stomach. And then the board loses the bloodline. You lose your leverage. And Kalin's loyalists will hunt you to the ends of the earth. Julian looked at the mercenaries. He looked at Kalin, gasping in the purple slush. What do you want? Give him the antidote, now. And in exchange? Lyra inhaled. Pine and heartbreak filled her lungs. I go with you. Quietly. I sign the papers. I tell the press whatever you want. I leave him. Behind her, a sound of pure agony. No, Lyra, don't. She didn't look at him. Looking at him would break her. Deal? Julian nodded. Deal. He tossed the blue canister. Instinct took over. Lyra grabbed it. From the snow. She dropped to her knees beside Kalin. She jammed the injector into his thigh. Hiss. The blue liquid vanished into his system. Kalin gasped, back arching. Color returned to his face. The purple veins faded. He reached for her. His hand gripped her wrist, weak, desperate. Don't. Tears leaked from his eyes. Don't go. Fight them. Lyra leaned down. She kissed his forehead, cold sweat against her lips. I am fighting, Kalin. This is how I fight. She memorized his face, the sharp jaw, the brown eyes, the man she loved. She ripped her wrist from his grip. She stood up. She walked toward Julian, toward the guns, toward the cage. She didn't look back. Kalin screamed her name, a raw, broken sound that echoed off the mountains. Then the snowmobile engine roared to life, drowning him out. Lyra Mercer was gone, and she had left her heart in the snow. Fluorescence hummed overhead, vibrating against the base of her skull. Blinding, clinical white. The paper covering the exam table stuck to the back of her legs. Cold gel slid across her abdomen. The plastic wand dug into her skin, hunting. She wasn't a person here. She was a container. Julian leaned against the doorframe, his thumb scrolling idly on his phone screen. Are they healthy? The doctor reeked of rubbing alcohol and nervous sweat. He stared at the monitor, wiping a grey hand over his mouth. 3 heartbeats, strong, approximately 12 weeks. Air snagged in Lyra's throat. 12 weeks, the night of the debate. The night the darkness finally spoke back to her. Julian pocketed his phone. He didn't look at her face. He only looked at the grayscale blur on the screen. We need them to make it to term. If she loses them, the board loses the claim to the estate. He finally turned. His eyes were flat, dead surfaces. You stay here. Bed rest, no stress, no phone, no... Kalin. Lyra focused on the ceiling tiles. 1, 2, 3. The silence in the room wasn't quiet. It was heavy, pressing against her eardrums like deep water. You can't keep me here. Her voice scratched the way up her throat. I can. You signed the papers, Lyra. You voluntarily committed yourself to the board's care for prenatal distress. It was the price for your beast's life. The room tilted on its axis. He was right. She had traded her freedom for Kalin's breath. Is he... The question tasted like ash. Is he alive? Julian laughed, a dry sound like dead leaves skittering on pavement. Alive? Yes. But I wouldn't call him well. The antidote clears the toxin, but the withdrawal breaks the mind. He leaned down. His cologne, expensive musk and ozone, flooded her lungs, choking out the clean smell of the clinic. He's probably tearing his own castle down right now. Forget him. He's already forgotten you. Lyra snapped her head to the side, staring at the wall. A single hot tear cut a track into her hairline. Liar. Kalin Voss didn't forget. He claimed. Get out. Julian smirked, straightening his cuffs. Rest up, matriarch. You have a long 6 months ahead of you. The magnetic lock engaged with a heavy thud. Lyra pressed her palm flat against the cold gel on her stomach. Beneath the skin, deep in the dark, a flutter answered. Thump, thump, thump. Hold on. She whispered the words into her own skin. Daddy is coming.
Black marble crunched under his bare feet. Kalin sat in the center of the great hall, surrounded by ruin. Splintered mahogany, ceramic dust, the jagged remains of a mirror catching the moonlight. Blood slicked his knuckles. A slice on his cheek wept red down his jaw. He didn't feel it. The antidote had burned the wolfsbane out of his veins, leaving him hollow, scraped clean like a gutted fish. The silence was the worst part. No second heartbeat. No scent of cedar and rain, just the wind howling against the stone and the echo of his own failure. He gripped the neck of a bottle. 50-year-old peat and smoke seared his throat. It didn't burn enough. Boots shifted on the broken glass behind him. Marcus stood 10 feet away. The man wore full tactical gear but reeked of terror. "Sir, the board, they've issued a statement. They say Lyra is in a private facility. Voluntary admission." Kalin's laugh was a wet, ugly thing. Voluntary. She traded herself for this. He gestured to his wrecked body, to the debris field of his home. "She thinks I'm worth saving. She's wrong." Rage spiked in his chest, hot and familiar. Glass exploded against the far wall. Amber liquid rained down, mixing with the dust. "Get out! Leave me!" "Sir, we need a plan." Marcus didn't retreat, though his voice shook. "If we don't act, they'll declare you incompetent by morning." "I am incompetent." Kalin surged to his feet. The room spun. "I let them take her. I let them win." He grabbed the edge of the heavy oak table. Muscles screamed as he heaved it over. Thud. The impact vibrated through the floorboards. "I am not a king." He paced through the shards, leaving bloody footprints on the obsidian. "I am just a dog with a crown." His knees hit the floor. Exhaustion slammed into him like a physical blow. He buried his face in his hands. Her scent still lingered on his skin. Faint, fading. The moment their eyes locked in the snow. That was the moment he died. Lyra. He wanted to burn the world down. He wanted to rip Julian's throat out with his teeth. But the beast in his blood was quiet. Violence won't save her. Violence is what lost her. He needed a weapon that didn't bleed. Shadows stretched long across the hallway floor. The estate was a tomb. Kalin walked the corridors, a ghost haunting his own life. The double doors of the library loomed, the one place he hadn't destroyed. He pushed inside. Cedar, old paper, rain. The scent of her was violently alive in this room. This was where she lived, where she slept, where she outsmarted him. He moved to the desk. Critique of Pure Reason lay open to page 84. A scrap of white peeked out from the spine. Kalin reached for it. His hand trembled. Not a bookmark, a cheap linen napkin, stiff with a rust-colored stain. Her blood from the night she broke the glass. Blue ink scrawled across the fabric. "To the wolf. Strategy outweighs strength." The archivist. The words blurred under his thumb. Strategy outweighs strength. "You think you have to be a monster to be loved?" That's what she told him. He had played the monster. He had played the board's game, growling, fighting, threatening. And he lost. The board didn't fear monsters. They hired mercenaries to put monsters down. But they feared the law. They feared the truth. Kalin looked from the napkin to the wall of books. Something inside him shifted. The feral gold drained from his eyes, leaving them dark, focused, dangerous. He didn't need claws to get her back. He needed leverage. The secure line on the desk hummed with a dial tone. He punched in the number. "Connect me to the archive basement. I need the file on Julian Thorne." Kalin sank into the leather chair. Her chair. He closed his eyes, inhaling the metallic scent of the napkin. "Hold on, Lyra." He opened his eyes. Ice replaced the fire. "I'm done fighting like a dog. I'm going to fight like a king."
The elevator walls closed in, a suffocating box of brushed steel and silence. Lyra stood in the corner. Scratchy hospital cotton chafed her skin, shapeless, ugly, dehumanizing. Julian adjusted his tie in the reflection of the brass doors. "Don't speak unless spoken to." The board just wants to verify that you are cooperating. Bile rose in Lyra's throat. Cooperating meant lying. It meant telling the world Kalin was crazy so Julian could steal his crown. I understand. The elevator chimed. The doors slid open. They weren't in a courtroom. They were back at Obsidian Peak. The board had seized the estate. The air in the boardroom hung heavy with lemon polish, expensive cigars, and the metallic tang of fear. The massive black table was crowded. 12 vultures in Italian suits lined the obsidian. And at the head, Kalin. He was a king in chains. Heavy silver cuffs bit into his wrists, tethering him to the arms of the chair. One eye was swollen shut, his shirt hung in ribbons. But he looked up. He didn't growl, he didn't thrash. He just watched her. His eyes were clear, brown, waiting. Julian shoved her into the chair opposite him. The witness is present. Shall we proceed with the liquidation? Lyra stared at the table. It groaned under the weight of evidence. Broken electronics, shredded fabric, and buried under a stack of legal briefs. Rot. Damp leather and mildew hit her nose before she even touched it. The founding ledger. The board treated it like trash. They didn't know it was a guillotine. She met Kalin's gaze. He didn't nod. He blinked. Once. Slow. Trust me. Lyra pressed her palms flat against the cold table to hide the shaking. Proceed. Vane's gavel cracked against the stone like a gunshot. The vote to strip King Voss of his title begins now.
Silver burned his skin, sizzling against the hair on his arms. Kalin sat perfectly still. His wolf clawed at the back of his throat, demanding blood. Kill them. He swallowed the roar. Julian strutted around the table, confident he had broken the king. King Voss is mentally compromised. His violent outbursts prove he has succumbed to the blood madness. He is a danger to the shareholders. Vane checked his watch, looking bored. Agreed. All in favor of immediate removal? Hands shot up. 1, 2, 5. Cold sweat slicked Kalin's back. Physically, he was bound. Legally, he was dead. He looked at Lyra. She wasn't looking at him with love. She studied the rotting book with cold, mathematical precision. Strategy outweighs strength. She started to stand. Sit down, girl, Vane snapped. She didn't flinch. Her hand, pale and shaking, hovered over the trash pile. Kalin. She whispered the name to herself. Chains rattled as Kalin leaned into the metal. Let her speak. His voice was gravel and rust, unused for days. Or are you afraid of a librarian, Vane? Vane waved a dismissive hand. Let her speak. It won't change the vote. Kalin watched the fear in Lyra's shoulders harden into steel. Her chin lifted. My queen. Burn them down.
Adrenaline flooded her veins, hot and sharp. Lyra stood. Every eye in the room fixed on her. 12 powerful alphas and Julian. I'm not here to talk about his madness. I'm here to talk about your math. Vane raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? You're counting votes using the wrong rulebook. She seized the rotting leather. Thud. It hit the obsidian table, sending a cloud of grey dust into the sterilized air. What is this trash? Julian sneered. Security? It's the founding ledger, dated 1842, and it supersedes every digital contract you have. She flipped the cover open, the spine cracked, a loud bone-breaking sound in the silent room. She didn't need to search. The words were burned into her memory. Page 402, paragraph 4, the sanctity of the Trinity. The board members shifted, suits rustling. They knew the old laws, they just chose to ignore them. Read it, Kalin commanded. Lyra looked at Vane. In the event of a triple birth, the spirits of the first pack are deemed to, have returned. Such offspring are divine. She looked up, locking eyes with Julian. Divine, not bastards. not liabilities. She turned the page. And the bearer of said offspring is immediately granted the title of matriarch supreme. Julian's face drained of color. That's a fairy tale? Nobody follows the old laws. This company does. It's in your charter. We adhere to the wisdom of the founders. She leaned over the table and snatched Vane's platinum pen. The metal was cool against her sweaty palm. As matriarch supreme, I hold veto power over all asset liquidation. The room stopped breathing. I vote no. Vane stared at the book. Then he looked at Kalin. Kalin was smiling, a terrifying, bloody smile. The clause is valid, Vane whispered. He looked like he had swallowed glass. If the heirs are real, she outranks us. They are real, Kalin growled. Check the ultrasound. Julian lunged across the table. No, she's lying. She's a fraud. He grabbed for the book. Lyra flinched, clutching her shield. Snap. Crunch. Wood splintered. Kalin stood up. The silver cuffs were still locked to his wrists, but they dangled heavy from the broken chair arms. He caught Julian's throat in mid-air. With a single glance, Kalin promised death. Don't touch the queen. He threw Julian like a rag doll into the wall of monitors. Sparks showered the carpet. Lyra stood there, clutching the dusty book. Meeting adjourned. Vane grabbed his briefcase. He didn't look at Julian. He looked at Lyra with pure terror. We will review the ledger. He ran. The rest of the board followed, fleeing the predator in their midst. The door clicked shut. Silence rushed back in. Lyra looked at Kalin. He stood amidst the wreckage, bleeding, exhausted, chest heaving. But he wasn't looking at the door. He was looking at her. Not as a possession. He bowed his head. Well played. Matriarch. Lyra dropped the pen. The adrenaline crashed. She fell, knowing he would catch her, before she hit the floor.
The boardroom was a graveyard of glass and mahogany. Kalin sat on the floor, back pressed against a splintered table leg. The obsidian was cold through his torn shirt, but the weight in his lap was warm. Lyra. She had crashed the second the door locked. Adrenaline withdrawal turned her heavy and soft, her cheek flattened against his chest. Kalin looked at his own hands. They shook, not from fear, from the aftershock of survival. He had spent a lifetime building fortifications, stone, money, contracts. He thought power was a wall. But this girl, this tiny, stubborn archivist with no money and no pack, walked through his walls like they were smoke. He brushed a stray hair from her forehead. She smelled of old paper, sweat, and absolute victory. You saved me. Not the company, not the title, the man. The madness was silent. The feral rage Julian tried to provoke didn't scratch at the door. His wolf was curled up inside his ribs, purring, watching her sleep. Lyra stirred. Her lashes fluttered against his skin. Did we win? The words were thick, slurred by sleep. Kalin's laugh was a rusty, unused thing. Yes, Lyra, we won. He tightened his grip, anchoring her to him. She pushed herself up, blinking at the silver cuffs still dangling from his wrists. The metal was twisted, ruined where he had snapped the oak. You're still hurt. Her fingers grazed the raw red skin on his forearms. I don't feel it. He looked down at her stomach. His voice dropped to a rumble. Are they okay? The heirs? Lyra pressed a palm to her belly. Her eyes closed. A slow smile broke across her face. They're sleeping. They liked your speech. Kalin leaned his head back against the table leg. The storm inside his skull finally cleared. I need to fire my entire legal team and hire you. Lyra's laugh was soft, breathless. I'm expensive. Kalin opened his eyes. The gold was gone. They were warm. brown, human. I know. I intend to pay you.
Snow drifted past the window, silent and heavy. The nursery smelled of lemon polish and new wool, soft yellow walls, a plush rug that swallowed the sound of her footsteps. 3 empty cribs stood in a row, waiting. Lyra traced the frost on the glass. Heavy boots scuffed the carpet. Kalin. He had scrubbed the blood off. He wore a clean black sweater and jeans, his damp hair scenting the room with sandalwood and soap. He looked less like a king and more like a father. He held a manila folder. Paperwork? I thought we were done with contracts. Not this one. He walked to the changing table. The folder slapped open. 3 birth certificates, already filled out. Father, Kalin Voss. Mother, Lyra Mercer. But underneath lay a second document. Thick watermarked linen. A deed. A title transfer. Half. Lyra stared at the ink. Half of what? Everything. The estate, the company, the assets. He picked up the fountain pen. The same platinum weapon she had used to threaten Vane. He held it, out, metal warming in his hand. I'm not making you a consort, Lyra. Consorts can be dismissed. Queens cannot. Air snagged in her throat. You're giving me half your kingdom? Why? Because you are the only one who knows how to rule it. He stepped into her space. His hand engulfed hers, solid and grounding. You used the law to save the pack. You used your mind to save my life. I don't want a silent partner, Lyra. I want an equal. The last brick of her insecurity crumbled. She wasn't the charity case. She wasn't the orphan. She took the pen. Her hand didn't shake. She signed her name on the line next to his. The ink flowed smooth and black, binding them deeper than blood. Lyra Mercer Voss. She capped the pen. There's a condition. Kalin smiled. Name it. No more secrets. If the board comes for us, we fight together. If the wolf gets loud, you tell me. We don't run to the snow anymore. Kalin leaned down, resting his forehead against hers. Skin against skin. Deal. The silence roared with promise. He kissed her. Not desperate, not fearful. A slow, deliberate claim. A promise signed in breath.
6 months later, sunlight baked the stone of the balcony. The snow was a memory, replaced by the sweet, cloying scent of mountain laurel. Kalin stood at the railing. A bundle rested in the crook of his arm. Warm, heavy, living. The firstborn. A boy. He had Lyra's nose and Kalin's scowl. Glass doors slid open behind him. Lyra walked out. She looked exhausted. Her hair was a disaster of a bun, and a white stain of spit-up marred her shoulder. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. They're finally asleep. She leaned her weight against his arm. Kalin looked down. The baby shifted. Eyelids fluttered open. Gold, bright, shocking, predator gold. Kalin's wolf stirred in his chest, not in anger, in recognition. He has the eyes. Lyra looked. She didn't flinch. She didn't pull away. He has his father's eyes. She traced the baby's soft cheek. And his mother's stubbornness. Kalin laughed, the sound echoing off the peaks. God help us. He looked. Horizon. The board was gone. Vane in prison, Julian in exile. The pack was stable. But Kalin didn't care about the pack. He cared about the 3 hearts beating in the nursery, and the 1 heart beating next to his. He had spent his life afraid of his legacy, afraid of the curse. But looking at Lyra, the archivist who became a queen, he realized the curse was broken. What are you thinking? She rested her head on his shoulder. Kalin kissed her hair. It smelled of milk and sunlight. I'm thinking that I finally found a story worth keeping. He let the happiness settle in his chest, heavy and real. The scandal was over. The legend had just begun.